It's time to wrap up our regional series. We saved the best for last. It is time for the South. Time to get average. What is going on, guys? We are the Average Bros Fantasy Show, your one-stop shop for fantasy advice, brought to you by Football Darts and Fantasy Sports Alliance. As always, I'm joined by my below-average brother, Kevin. My fair lady, how are you doing tonight?
I am doing just fantastic watching these rookie drafts go on throughout FSA, watching the fallout after the NFL draft and teams start to take shape as we move just another week closer into the season here. So very excited for what's happening.
Yeah, Sean says I gassed up and got here early this time. I'm assuming that's in relations to all the gas stations being closed, because all the gas stations around us are closed. But yeah, I'm definitely.
I believe they had a conversation about the same. I said no. I believe he's talking about the same thing, just putting limits on how much gas he could buy, considering they're running out. So glad you could be here, Sean.
Yeah, I was definitely intrigued by a lot of these rookie drafts going on. There were some surprises with the rookie drafts, and as well as the startup drafts for Echo and Foxtrot, which are still going on. I hope everybody's getting who they want. I know I am getting most of my guys that I wanted. But of course, before we get into our show tonight, we would like to thank our broadcast sponsor, Football Darts. Football Darts is a dart game that combines the skill of traditional darts with the strategies of American football. This innovative dart game is played on a uniquely designed multiple target dartboard. It can be played in sports bars, at tailgate events, as league tournaments, or as a leisure activity in the comfort of your home. If you would like to check out their officially licensed collegiate dartboards, go to footballdarts.com and make sure you guys use code IPLAYFSA to get yourself 30% off, because who doesn't love a good discount? And if you guys like the show, please like, share, and subscribe to the show, and follow us on all of our social media outlets you see here all over the screen now, as well as check us out on our website, fsa-fr.com. And of course, please head on over and check out Brad, Josh, and Eric on the Empty Wagon Show Saturday morning at midnight Eastern Standard Time. Whew. To be fair, I'm not even going to mention the next part. All I'm going to say is, if you guys want to get yourselves some above average merch, make sure you guys head on over to the website, which I just mentioned, and get yourself 10% off by using code FANATIC at checkout on our Quan for the Win, Angry Commish, or Let's Go t-shirt. I know that I really love all the t-shirts that I have. I know I'm wearing one right now, and I know Kevin's wearing his as well.
Yeah, I've got mine on under here.
There it is. That's a beautiful logo on a ugly man.
Well, the issue is I would be wearing it without the sweatshirt, but it doesn't really play nice with my backdrop. So,
and that's what helps me out, because I don't use a green screen. I just use colorful lights, because I don't know. I like my background that I have here. I love everything that's coming together. So we're wrapping up this series. It is time to get into the nitty gritty and take a dive into the southern states. So I will let you kick it off, my good man.
Yes, if you have not caught the last couple of shows, what we're doing is we're going around the league and highlighting the different teams in their respective divisions. As my average brother had mentioned, we are doing the South divisions. If you would like to catch up on all the other divisions that we have already highlighted, please check out all of our previous broadcast/podcasts on Anchor FM, Google Podcast, Apple, iHeartRadio, Stitcher, Amazon Music, and anywhere else you may find podcasts for your listening pleasures. But as we get into it today, we will start with the NFC South. Sir, give me a team of your choice.
Well, before I give you a team of your choice, we have Raven saying I shaved today question mark and
We did
saying
not.
hello. Mate, is he saying that he shaved today? I mean, it's been a
Possibly,
while
I
for
don't know if he
me.
did. There's a question mark. I don't know if he knows if he shaved today.
And he says hello gently. Um I think we are going to I think we should kick it off with one of the most controversial teams that we talked about after the NFL draft because I know that I have one of their players and I'm very sad because of what I paid for him. And I know I'm not going to get it back. So I think we should start off with the Jacksonville Jaguars and their new shiny toys and
So
their
if we
soon to
take a
be
look,
old new toy.
yes, if we take a look at their offense as a whole, they have a ton of new faces. Obviously, their fuel general, their leader at the helm, their new quarterback, Trevor Lawrence, now paired up with his college uh, duo in the running back NTN. And you had mentioned who you're crying over there for is Robinson. Then they have a plethora of new receivers as well. Oh, and as Raven mentions, don't forget their new tight end in Tebow, who is projected to sign with the team later this week.
Well, according to MFL, he already did sign on the team. He
Yeah,
actually is available. Not to draft though. Apparently, he is considered a dropped player, so you
yeah.
can't draft him. So I'm interested to try and get him on my team. I'm interested to see how they're going to use him, if they automatically bump him up to being a starter just because of his vet status and how he knows the NFL. Um, but yeah, I was definitely
Well,
upset to see.
you do have to remember though, as we're talking about him, I guess we can just start there with Tebow. You got to remember he is a bigger quarterback. He was a faster quarterback. I know he's been out of the league for some time, but you have to take a look at this. He played both ways in both high school and early in college. They did have him on the defensive side of the ball. They know he can hit and take hits, right? He did so when he was at quarterback. He didn't shy away from putting his head down and try to run through people. But it's not like he hasn't been active. He played baseball where the only thing he had to do was catch a couple of grounders and then go work out, right? And he was on a pro team. I mean, might not have been the big leagues. So it was a minor league field team, but he was active and he stayed in athletic type shape. Now, is it field ready shape? We'll have to see. But I do believe they'll find a use for him. How much, I don't know. I don't think I would put him in the realm of any type of real relevance, but it's definitely something to watch for, especially if maybe a bye week ad for yourself. So something to keep an eye on.
And we have Eric chiming in saying Brad grabbed them off waivers already in our dynasty league. Um, I 100% agree, especially in the dynasty leagues with the big rosters that we have. I know in Charlie, I have about 3 tight ends, and it doesn't seem too unrealistic to just have him, just sit in there as a why not? He could become a great player. He could not become a great player. And Raven says he is an athlete. He definitely is all over the place. And that's the other thing that really helps him out is just that he's staying in shape too.
Right.
But
So next, probably somebody's value who dropped the most after the draft in James Robinson. I know people were pretty high on him coming off of last year, one of those people being yourself.
yeah, I was definitely excited when I acquired him. Uh sorry. Sorry, I was reading the comment from Chris says thought I'd throw it out there. All analysis is however you want to say it is done for Echo and Foxtrot. Also, hi, hello, Chris. Uh, I don't know how much I should trust your guys' rankings between you and Damien, but I definitely am excited to see how everybody else views their rankings. I thought you were going to say something, Kevin.
No. Raven chimes in and says that he heard that they're going to go running back by committee. I don't see it being a by committee, Raven. I think that lends to something to your prototypical, say, 49ers, Patriots, and Eagles type teams where you have 3 to 5 running backs on the team. They really only have the 2 as far as solid backs. I know that they did bring in what I believe they brought Carlos Hyde in, right? That's
Yeah.
where he went. I don't think Hyde will be much more than a safety valve if either one gets hurt. I think it's just going to be closer to your New Orleans 1-2 punch at running back.
Yeah, and like I previously said, I was very excited to get him over the offseason. I acquired him for, I believe, about a first round pick. I know there was more involved in the trade, but if you kind of break it down, it was about for a first round pick. And then after watching the NFL draft and seeing Jacksonville draft a running back, especially in the first round, I knew that I lost all credibility on that trade, and I'm just hoping that he can earn the job and get his stock back up.
Chris says that Robinson will get the first and second down um, tries, as NTN will be the third down and change pace guy, and Hyde will see some of the 1-2, probably shorter range, punch it in stuff because he's a bigger back. So you could probably see him in the red zone more, goal line type stuff, in my opinion, just kind of ad-libbing the
And
back end of that. But I do agree to an extent there. I think that Robinson does stay their number one guy, at least for now, but it's NTN's job to take.
yeah, it's Etienne's job to take. But even if you think about it, if you're saying that Carlos Hyde is going to be the red zone guy, that's still taking production away from James Robinson. I mean, whether it's a 40-yard run or a 1-yard run, you're still gaining 6 extra points on that play. And if you're taking that touchdown away from him inside the 20-yard line, it's really going to hurt his stock.
Yeah, like I said, I think it's more of a see how it lies type thing. I think if he's doing well, you don't pull him away. You've seen it time and time again where a running back breaks off a big run and gets you into the red zone. They typically go back to that same running back and let him try to get the, finish off the job and get the touchdown. They don't too often change it and give it to somebody else to earn. So I don't think that Hyde will come into play too much unless it's a tighter game, a poorer performance by one of the other two backs, where you'll see him really get in on the mix of carries.
And now I know they brought in help at the running back position, but what do you think about their receivers? Do you trust Chark?
I mean, they've got so many now. They've got Chark, they've got
Marvin Jones?
Conley, they've got Jones, um, they've got Lavanka Chenault, or however you
Oh
pronounce his
yeah,
first name.
Chenault.
I mean,
Laviska?
uh, yeah, but you
Something like
got me
that.
beat there, but I mean, they've got so many options for Lawrence to throw to, who I know we'll get into a little bit more, but I don't see a clear-cut fantasy one on the team. I think they're going to fall into the same type of problem, especially with a younger quarterback that you see out of, say, um, Houston or somewhere like that, where they've got a lot of options that are more just meh and see who can try to turn something big. I don't see any clear ones there.
Definitely. And actually, now that you might as well mention Houston, I think they're the next team that we should head on over to. And just getting the big and the ugly out of the way. Desean Watson possibly not playing this season. However, I know in Foxtrot, Brett did nab him from me right before my pick, which in a dynasty, I really like the decision.
Yeah, I think that it's going to be a tough call, right? Because he still has the legal issues going on. He still has the contract issues going on. We got to remember what kind of kicked off the don't touch Watson thing was where you didn't know where he was going to land, if he was going to
Hmm.
stay there and figure it out, if he was going to move on. Then you have the issue where it comes into, okay, say he stays in Houston, say the legal issues are dropped, the league could still suspend him for a couple of games, and for breaking any type of policy that they may have in place. So you could see that affect his value. So for me, if I'm in one of the dynasties, I think right where Brett took him is probably about where I would have let him fall to, that 7, 8, 9 range. I don't know how many leagues really let him go past that, especially through FSA, which we know is a super flex league. So you probably already took a quarterback in the first three. So to get your second that late is probably about right. But as far as a redraft, it's
Well,
really going to
no,
be tough.
for Brett at that point, Watson was just his third quarterback, I believe.
Well, I'm saying at most worst. You already have at least one.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, there's no way in a super flex you're waiting till the seventh to take your first quarterback, is what I'm saying.
No, I just wait till the 7th to take my second quarterback.
See?
Uh, Let me see. Yep, 7th round. I got Kirk Cousins, which to be fair is not a terrible pick, but that is besides the point. I definitely agree with Raven. I believe we said it's what is it, Houston, where you go where careers go to die.
Yep, pretty much.
But and the thing that I spoke to Brad about is I don't think there's 100% decision yet of what's going on with Watson. Like most likely he's going to be suspended. He's not going to play like most of the season, if not all of the season. But on the slight chance if he does play, imagine the value that you're getting at that pick.
Yep.
So
Last
it is
last year,
definitely
I believe it was
good.
our Charlie draft last year where you took him 105. So you're getting a first round talent, second round talent at worst in the seventh
No,
round.
Charlie draft. I took Lamar.
Where did he go?
I believe he was a big turnaround guy at that point, a second round turnaround guy. Like early second round is where he
I think
went.
I think somebody had him that early. I think somebody had him that
But
high, but as Raven says, the organization as a whole, regardless of the players, is a mess. That I believe to be true from top down.
it is definitely true. I think prior to the Watson spiel, he was probably the only guy that I'm touching in Houston. They have they're pulling a San Fran. They have all these running backs that they brought in. So there's no clear cut starter
Well,
yet.
who's
You
Hey,
have
go ahead.
David
Who's their running
Johnson.
back room?
You
Okay.
have David
Washed up.
Johnson, Mark Ingram, Philip
Washed.
Lindsay. I don't.
He's
I
he's
think
probably
they.
the one.
I think they got rid of Duke Johnson.
Philip
Um,
Lindsay from the three is probably going to be your starter out of there, but probably if more or less fall into that committee type deal.
yeah, I'm trying to see right now if they got any running backs or any other running backs, but it doesn't look like it. It looks like it was just Mark Ingram, David Johnson, and Philip Lindsay. So a very San Franish type of situation. And
Except older and slower.
well, yeah. Oh, yeah. No, yeah. They're. I didn't. How old is Lindsay?
San Fran has Mosert and like three running backs under 25.
Mostert, Wilson. I know.
They
I think
they
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 drafted
drafted and
somebody.
yeah, they drafted another running back.
Yeah. I. I hate teams like that because you never know who's gonna step up and be your guy.
It's like you have a full lineup of players, and they're like, that stuff's nice, but y'all got any running backs? That's what we're
and
interested in.
and
Let's go
since
draft
we're
a quarterback that won't start, and then right after that, a running back. Like, how does that help out the young guy? It doesn't. We already got that solved.
Speaking of a plethora of running backs on your team, that brings me into the Indianapolis Colts with Jonathan. Apparently, I'm a million times better, according to Chris, than Saquon Barkley Taylor.
Which I don't believe to be true,
It
especially with was it Marlon Mack and
Hines, Naeem Hines.
Naheem Hines. Yeah, all
Yeah,
three are still there. I'm pretty sure. I believe
yes.
it's Taylor's job. I believe it's going to be very similar to what we had mentioned in Jacksonville.
Mhm.
I think he's going to be the one, and the other two guys are just going to be your change of pace. Keep his legs fresh, help your young guy out. But regardless, I mean, it's not like you have a Saquon where it's a end all be all. If you see him in the backfield, that's where we're going type deal. So
So I'll be honest real quick. I'm looking at the transactions from Indianapolis and wait, where to go? So they signed a wide receiver, Mike Strahan.
mhm.
I'm saying his name right. For a second, I thought it said Michael Strahan. But
Hey, he became more aerodynamic. He got that gap filled. He can play receiver now.
and oh my gosh. Um well, at receiver you want separation.
So Chris says Taylor will get work. Will
We'll get
get
more
more work
work.
than J. Rob, 100%.
I actually
And
100% agree with that. You don't and my thing is you don't draft a running back in the first round for him not to eat up a little bit of the get that smirk off your face.
I was trying to drink my drink.
You don't draft a running back in the first round for him to not eat up a little bit of the workload from your original starter. But the thing is to me, yes, Taylor's young. Yes, he put on a show in the second half of the season, but one, that's just rookie year. And you know how we always talk about once teams get the tape on them, that's it. So I don't know. And I think that Hines or Mack, any given week, they could win their spot back. That's just
I
me.
I don't necessarily feel that way. I think that it's Taylor's job to really lose, and he's got to do real poorly to give that up. Not saying that the other two won't cut into his time at all, but I don't think he'll lose that job. I think that because you got to remember, both of them did come back. It wasn't like there was no other options there. There was other backs there
And
for him,
and that's a thing
and he just
is
ran away with it.
I think they could have let somebody walk and they would have been perfectly fine and just kept a two running back backfield. Well, obviously with having your third and fourth for your backups in case they got injured, but you have your two main guys, but now you have three somewhat main guys. Like you don't bring a third man back for nothing, in my
Well,
opinion.
the issue is that they already had the two the previous year as a duo, and they didn't believe 100% in either one of them as a starter. That's why they drafted Robinson or Taylor to come up and be something. Then when he got his chance and did it, that's what they wanted. They
So
wanted this three pairing to stay together and the other two guys to fall in line and Taylor to win it eventually. Now, because of injury, he had to do it a whole lot sooner, but he proved why he got brought into the situation. And you also have to remember that now they brought in Carson Wentz, who is an RPO guy, play action guy. It's going to run a lot quicker type offense than a Phil River run offense, which means there's going to be a lot more run opportunity to be had there, a lot of quick passing down type stuff.
Yes, I am. And I tell people all the time, I have high hopes for Wentz. I just think that Philly wasn't the right spot for him. Doug Peterson just wasn't the right coach for him. I mean, and I think it goes to show it when not only did Wentz get the boot or the trade, Peterson was sent packing too. So I think that Indy's going to be a fresh start for him. He's got a decent receiver out wide with T.Y. Hilton, and I know they got a couple other guys there as well. And he's got a running game too. They have a running game to fall back on now.
Who does round out their receiving core?
Oh man, Michael
Chris
Pittman.
Chris says, I would argue Rivers helps the other two more as receiving back. Wentz should help JT more as a more mobile QB that they have to look out for more than Old Man Rivers. That was my point. Yeah, that's not really an argument because you're agreeing with me there, Chris. I'm saying that it helps JT more out having Wentz there, having that faster paced offense. So for those that say bringing back the other two running backs hurt him, having Wentz there kind of evens that out and makes it, kind of, even out for him overall. So I think it works out well. You said Michael Pittman is there.
Zach Pascal is there, as Raven
Yep.
mentions. So they have decent receivers there. I mean, Philly's starting to get receivers. I know they drafted Devontae Smith, which I have high hopes on as well, but too little, too late. And I have Wentz in both Charlie and Foxtrot now, so I think he's going to do good.
We shall see.
And on to the final team of the AFC South, just to round out that conference. We head on over to the music. What is it? The Music City or something like that.
Yes.
The Mr. 2K. Everybody thinks he's only going to do it for one season, but then he comes back and hits you with it again, and eventually he's just going to turn into another Todd Gurley, Derrick Henry. I don't know. I don't like Derrick Henry.
I mean, it works. I would say I don't like him either, but it works, right? I mean, he's not a touchdown guy. He's a yards guy. He
But for
breaks
how
off.
long, though?
I mean, they must believe in him enough to get rid of Corey Davis out of there and only have one other receiving option now. They get rid of, every option they had outside of AJ Brown and him. So
I don't know. Every time I do a draft, we're in the first round. He is the one guy that I tend to stay away from, especially in a PPR. And Raven says that the O line helps as well.
I mean, to be fair, yes, the O line helps a bit, but I would say when you have a guy that can stiff arm you into a helicopter, you might not really need an O line. you're not running downhill with that.
I have a big head, and when you have somebody on your team whose biceps are as big as my head, something's going on there. I mean, I could see him being a first rounder. I mean, I know running backs are very hard to come by. By the third round, it is slim pickings.
Yes, that is correct. Talking about Old Man Henry.
Old Man Henry. I think the best moment I saw of Henry was when he was standing side by side with Dion Lewis.
Yes.
It looked like it was his son.
Father, take your son to work day.
Yeah, but that's exactly what it was. It was take your child to work day.
I just want him to cut his hair. That's all. Get Mr. Hanky off your neck, please. That's all I'm asking for.
Oh,
So
oh my goodness.
what about Tannehill?
Tannehill, he's I believe he's getting up there in age if I'm not wrong. Raven chimes in with a good LOL. I know I got a
I don't
good
think he's that old. Tannehill's
I
not that old.
I feel like he's been, and that's the thing that gets away from me is I feel like he's been in the league a lot longer than what he's really been in.
Well, he has been in the league a little while. He just hasn't really held much of a starting job because he
Ryan
was with
Tannehill
Miami,
is 32 years old.
which isn't necessarily all that old anymore, right? You got to remember, if you take a look at your
Do it.
star positions, they've kind of extended their life in the league versus 10 years ago. So Eric says last year he finished number one in standard PPR. He was third, half PPR. He was second out of the running back position.
Yeah. So when you bring that PPR into play, it changes it up a little bit. And to me, it changes it up enough to
I
sway my decision.
My issue though, Eric, is, and I would put an asterisk on that a bit, is you had a on again, off again hurt Zeke. You had CMC that was out, and you had Barkley that was out. So those three guys, I believe, all finish over him. So I do see him kind of high. I do see him still as a first round grade in RB1, but not as high as one anymore.
Yeah.
One, two, or three. I think he
Get
drops off those. Plus
I think
2000 stuff to do. So
give it a season of having a healthy say or not so much a healthy Saquon, but I know he does receive though. But I know CMC is pretty much known for receiving. So give it a season of a healthy CMC, and I could see Henry getting bumped down on the PPR grades and half PPR.
says that Tannehill is the ultimate Adam Gase as a trash coach product, ultra efficient, awesome redraft QB. I would tend to agree with you there. I think that Adam Gase pretty much ruins everybody. So no disagreements there. And then he comes back and says CMC finishes ahead of him, Zeke maybe, and no faith left in Barkley. I would be very curious as to why, after only having the one real injury and no step back, probably the most athletic running back in the league as far as pure talent altogether. I know he has some ball carrying issues, but I don't see him taking a step back.
I think that Barkley just needs one good season to reintroduce himself. Yes, he's had the season or maybe 2 seasons where he was riddled with injuries, but I think at the end of the day he does have the raw talent like you mentioned, and at the end of the day he needs to tell people who he is again.
It says Barkley just runs outside. I mean,
If he's
yes,
gaining
and
yards and gaining touchdowns.
and he does it well.
But
I
at the
mean,
end of the day, this is we already did the East, or the leasts as we like to mention it. So Corey Davis is gone. What does that do for AJ Brown? Does it help him because he's the only guy there, or does it hurt him
but
because he's the only guy there?
who else do they have? I know they've
I
got a couple other options there.
I don't even know who their tight end is after getting Jonu Smith out of there.
Yeah, no Jonah either. That hurts.
Yeah,
No
they
Corey
really
Davis.
they really showed who their number one is at receiver. Um,
AJ Brown, regardless, I think is a good young talent. I think he's a top end wide receiver 2 for me, with wide receiver 1 upside, both
and
redraft and dynasty. I think that it
Eric
just hurts him being in the situation he's in.
Eric says that they have Fursker. I believe that's their tight end, if I'm not mistaken. Um, and
Never heard of them.
as far as their draft, they mainly did defense, O line. They drafted 2 receivers in the 4th and in the 6th. Um, but as far as receiving options, I mean, AJ Brown's clear cut number 1, only guy that you might as well touch on their team unless you're just grabbing any other guy just to have somebody on your team. Um, he's young, the points are there. Um,
Yeah, like I said, if this was last year, I have him a clear wide receiver 1. This year, not having a real 2 to lean on, I think can hurt him. We'll have to see if anybody steps up. But I
it
do have
can,
him wide receiver 1 upside. I mean, he's got a shot to land there, but it's just gonna really hurt not having anybody to take a double off of.
yeah. So he finished 12th on the year. However, missing 2 games. Um, averages at 16, so about just about where everybody else is. And I mean, he's not really a big PPR guy like that. He's only he only had 70 receptions last year, but I will say though, big receptions guy because he catches what was I believe it was 70% of his targets. So
Well, yeah,
that's
I
an
mean,
upside.
it's run and gun there, right? You got to figure it's either put the ball in Derrick Henry's hands or I'm throwing the ball 30 yards. That's your 2 options. I mean, it wasn't like they were cutting across the middle of the field and doing your dink and dunk stuff. It was either we're going to score every down through the air or every down on the ground. I mean, every time they were swinging for the fence. So it's not like they were chipping away at anything. That's why you see the PPR drop off there. Plus, they had
Yeah.
Jonu for that last year. So
And like I said, it can either hurt Brown with being the only guy there, or it can help him with being the only guy there. Me personally, I like Brown because of his age, because he's a younger guy, and I know we're going through the dynasty drafts. But at the same time, Henry is still there, and you never know how much how much work Henry's going to take away from the passing game. Eric says, "Okay, you try bringing it up too." And
says Brown was hurt all year and was told not to play. Had surgery on both knees this offseason and still had 1,000 yards, 12 touchdowns. Yeah, we're not disagreeing that the talent's there. And obviously, he finished as a wide receiver 1 with missing 2 games. So that just shows how good he is and can be. Um, the the issue is just overall, there's not really anything there to lean on now. So if you look at the case at this year's Thielen and Justin Jefferson, both those guys do so well because you can't cover both. If you look at back in the day, uh, Demaryius Thomas and um,
was it Wes?
no, Demaryius Thomas and um,
I know who you're talking
Eric
about too.
Decker. Eric Decker for the Jets. Both of them
Oh
had
my
like
goodness.
16 touchdowns in the same year, or something
Yeah, but look,
absurd like that.
and that's the thing, but look at what happened. Wait, are you talking about them when they were on Denver?
No, when they were on the Jets, they both had an insane amount of touchdowns
Because
because
I know,
they had no run game at the time, and it was just throw to either one of these 2 guys, and you can't cover both. And they both caught everything.
well, because I know they were absolute beasts for Denver, but I remember Eric Decker went to the Jets and like you never heard from the guy ever again.
Well, he quietly was just touchdowns. I mean, they brought in Thomas, and then the Patriots picked up Thomas, and it was little too late. But I digress. I don't think he has anyone there to really lean on.
Definitely. I mean, still a good pick, don't get me wrong. But at the end of the day, too, it could be, and this is what I wanted to mention, it could be like a dig situation. I mean, Diggs is
Yeah.
like pretty much the only guy in Buffalo. They have no running game, so they have to lean on him. I mean, they have Allen, but I mean, and Diggs finished second on the year.
Right.
But enough with the AFC. It is time to get this out of the way. Get this portion out of the way. It's either the one team I love or the three teams that I tolerate because I know we have fans in FSA. I love you, Sean.
We will start with Sean's team and the Atlanta Falcons, the Dirty Birds.
I think we're gonna get it out of the way. I will let you open his case. So have at it with your argument on Kyle Pitts.
Kyle Pitts, 104. I was very happy
Now,
with my rookie draft. My only pick.
I saw the tweet you made where you just basically said like, oh, here's a list of my draft picks. ... Pitts ... That's it.
Exactly. Through two rookie teams, a projected 8 total picks. I only made one, and it was Pitts. Shows you how high I am on him. Absolute monster. And you take a look at it, they have an aging Julio Jones. They are an absolute throw first team, the Falcons. You look at what an aging Julio did to his counterpart in Calvin Ridley. Somehow magically learned how to catch the ball and was phenomenal last year. Haven't seen that in forever. Now you pair that with a tight end who they tried to do it with Hurst, but just was more of a blocking type guy. He wasn't really a receiving threat for them. Now you throw in a guy who is a receiving threat, probably one of the best pure catchers out of the tight end position since having either Hernandez or Gronk come out. I believe it was 2010 or 12, something like that. You have this guy come out now, and a lot of teams, asked him to run the wide receiver drills through the combine and his pro days, and they said, no, I'm a tight end. That might hurt him pay wise, but I'm not his agent, so that's on them. But I think he will succeed there.
I'm curious if real quick, Eric asks, any more trade talk for Julio?
No, it's kind of settled down. I think the asking price was just too high. I don't think anyone really called seriously on it. I think teams who have been looking for a one did call on him, but nothing really escalated. The Patriots being one, the 49ers being one. That's about the only two that really stick out from my memory, but nothing really came of it. I think the Falcons were more or less just shopping him because they know the time is coming, right?
So Kyle Pitts, and I'm gonna bring back my good old frenemy, Brett, because he was actually the one who managed to snag him in the 5th round. He was the 4th tight end taken off the board, I believe, if I'm not mistaken.
What for? I'm curious to see what four went over him. I can assume Kittle, Kelsey, and Waller are 3.
Oh, I'm sorry. He was the 5th tight end off the board.
Okay, so Kittle, Kelsey, Waller, Andrews. What's that, 4?
Yeah.
And then Pitts.
Yeah. I half expected him to go before Andrews.
I already told you that before. Waller would probably be my 1. Kittle and Kelsey start to slide because of the age. It is a dynasty startup. So Kittle and Kelsey fall 1 or 2 and 3. I would probably would have put Pitts 4 personally.
Well, and I remember we actually had this conversation a couple weeks back, and we kind of let Waller's age slip because out of the 3 there, Kittle's the youngest.
Yeah, but he's just not worked or hit as hard as the other 2. I mean, he's more of Waller's more of a newer name to the game as far as standouts. I mean, both Kittle and Kelsey have had injuries. Kittle just coming off of 2 in one season. So
Yeah. Um,
Raven says, good night, guys. He's got work tomorrow. Good night, Raven. Thanks for hanging out with us. We will be back here again tomorrow night. So check us out. Then,
I would definitely agree with you just by looking purely by looking over stats, because if you look at stats on George Kittle, from 2019 to 2020, 85 receptions, 48 last year, which we know was because of the injury. Darren Waller, 2019, which is really when he picked up, 90 receptions, 2020, 107 receptions in a tight end premium league.
yeah, that's
Def-
that's
yeah,
crazy numbers.
that is just about Kittle or Kelsey numbers too. Kelsey 105 on the year, but I think what definitely helps Kelsey is the yardage.
Well, yeah, I mean, he's so big and that team runs so fast. Everyone has to drop out on coverage. So now you're behind everyone.
Yeah,
So everything is chunks there,
I swear.
unfortunately. I hate
And
those
and,
guys.
and we keep oh my goodness. And we keep getting way off topic on here. It's originated with Pitts. Um
Oh yeah. That's right.
so Pitts where do you have Pitts finishing on the year?
I haven't finished him right where I would draft him. I have him finishing at that tight end 4-5 range. I think one of the Patriot tight ends could jump up only because of how that offense is going to run with the lack of receivers there. I think there's going to be a lot of opportunity for them to jump in. That's more of a maybe type of deal. But I see him competing right away, Pitts, as a top tight end. I know that most people say that tight ends in the league don't really do well year one. That's a learning curve. But I truly believe that because they do have Hurst, who's a blocking tight end, and they're going to use him, they're going to wean um, Pitts into the receiving realm first, and then go into the blocking, which is going to be instant value add fantasy wise.
So Chris says, weren't half of the wide receivers at the Raiders injured? I know Ruggs wasn't. I think Ruggs
Ruggs,
was out.
yeah, Ruggs was out a game or two here or there.
Yeah.
Renfro is a game or two there. I don't know if Aguilar was ever hurt, and Edwards I don't think was ever hurt.
Yeah, so nobody was out long term. I know that.
Yeah, no one missed big chunks.
Yeah,
He
it's
was he
just
was just their top guy. That's the issue.
yeah,
He was
that's
he
honestly what it came
basically
down to.
he basically Waller basically played second to Ruggs. Ruggs was your speed guy to take it over the top, and then that falls everything underneath was Waller, and he's got probably the I would say top 10 pure hands in the league as far as hanging on to everything that comes his way. I mean, he's pretty good.
Last year he caught 107 with 146 targets.
Yeah.
So not too bad.
I mean, who was it that we were talking about the other day who had almost 100 targets that weren't completions
Oh,
or
it was
receptions?
Pittsburgh. It was
Yeah,
Pittsburgh's
it
receivers.
was like a crazy number. None of them were even close. They were all like 50% or less.
Yeah, it was like oh my god, I think it was Deontay Johnson or
Yeah, it was like,
let me
well, it might have actually been Juju. I think Juju was the highest on them, but it was crazy. Um, Regardless, as we're talking about him, how about Julio? Where do you see him going this year? I know he's dropped on a lot of boards.
Julio. Um, I mean, I think it was also just because of the age as well. I know I'm in the dynasty mindset right now because of the draft and everything. So that's kind of what I'm ranking him on is dynasty. Um, I would say he's your wide receiver 3 guy. I think, wide
Really?
receiver I definitely think so. I mean, like I said, dynasty, your first two guys, I know a lot of the guys in the league, they're looking for young guys. They'd rather have, they'd rather have Ridley younger, and he was just a absolute beast last year.
I think depending on how early I grab my first receiver
So
would
this is
depend
what
on where I would put Julio.
this is what we're gonna do. I believe Julio was drafted. Yes, 5'11" by the Maryland Maniacs. And
Okay, that's not bad.
okay, hold on. Let me see this. So Maryland Maniacs. When did? Okay, so Maryland Maniacs got him at wide receiver 2 in the 5'11". They
Yeah,
have, and
that's not bad.
he has around him DeAndre Hopkins. Oh wow, yes. So real
Chris,
quick, he has DeAndre Hopkins and Adam Thielen. And Chris says, I agree
and
with
he took
Josh on a wide receiver for once.
so he took Julio then Thielen.
Yes, he took, like I said, Julio. He took Julio as his wide receiver 2.
Yeah, see, I agree right there. You said 3. I think he's more of a 2, a low 2. I think he could tier there. I mean, I get your point when you're talking dynasty. I think that overall, if I'm taking a redraft step to this, I think that he still has one upside. I really, I just think that the fall off was so harsh last year to go from a top guy in the league, probably top 5 receiver, to just not even top 2 on his team. I mean, crazy to think that.
Yeah, and I mean, there's another guy out there who kind of had a huge fall down, like a huge drop. But we will get to him in a couple
That's
seconds.
why I traded him.
In a couple seconds, we would definitely get to him. And going to the other side of the field. Like I said, I love him. I have him on my team in Charlie. What are your thoughts on Calvin Ridley?
Um, Fringe wide receiver 1. I would have to see him do what he did again 2 years in a row. I think that
Uh,
I would like
okay.
to see him do it again. I mean, he hasn't put up that type of production ever before. Plus, now you throw in a Pitts, uh, it could bring those numbers back down to earth a little bit. Um, but I think for
So
all of the arm and leg people there, regardless of what you got going on at receiver, I think that we're hugely missing a point here. Arm and leg, best kicker in the league, young Waku.
oh
He is
my
a
goodness.
Falcon. Got to get
No,
that
he
in
got
there.
he got dropped.
Yeah, right.
No, I'm kidding. They did drop a kicker, but it was Elliott Fry. So they do still
Yeah.
have young Huiku, absolute legend around these parts. Um, but yeah, I will say though, I think most of the part of Ridley's workload was not so much himself, but it was just the targets that he was getting. Because I mean, I look at Ridley, 2018, 2019, he was catching 60% of his targets, but that's because he was only getting around 90 targets on the season.
Well,
Like 20,
you also have to think if Julio is really aging out and the way that the Falcons are playing from behind a lot does lead to a pass happy offense. They
it definitely
already
does.
they also really didn't lead too great on the run game side of things. I mean, they did have Gurley there, so what's that tell you for trust in the run game? So um, they were leaning pass heavy anyway, and we know that Matt Ryan still has an arm, regardless of his age getting up there and being perpetual, tier 2 type guy in Matt Ryan. I can never really put him in that upper echelon of guys. I can't really trust him every single week to be a solid starter, super flex, sure. Um, just my opinion on him. Not really a fan, but he does have an arm, so he can get the ball out deep.
When he can, though. I
Yeah,
mean,
when
I mean, from what I've seen, I watch them 2 times a year, and New Orleans, they're known for their running defense. They're not really known for the pass rush like that, but they get to him a decent amount of times. So the deep ball's there when he can get it off, yes.
Right.
But Matt Ryan, I think around the time that you're expecting to get him, you can get somebody else definitely a lot better. And even I'm even talking about redraft as well. Me and you both, we're trying to get our quarterbacks a little later in the draft. And I think by the time that he's going to go, there's going to be other options out there as well.
That leads us next to Carolina.
I mean,
CMC comes back.
I was just going to say, let's get him out of the way. CMC.
They must believe that he's coming back healthy and strong because they do let Mike Davis go, correct?
Yes, Mike Davis walks. However, they do draft a running back, though.
I mean, CMC now entering that vet realm, has been in the league longer than what people really see, only because obviously he wasn't the stud that he is now. That first couple of years there, he pretty much doubled in size while there. So,
oh yeah, oh my goodness.
Real quick, we'll go back to a couple of these comments here. Eric says if Pitts, Ridley, and Jones are healthy, Matt Ryan is flirting with QB1. And as you said, that defense isn't stopping anyone, so it's a throw first offense. I agree. I just personally can't trust Ryan to be there. I mean, the receiving core that he has is phenomenal, probably up there for tops in the league. Not number one, but top 5 for sure with those 3 guys if Jones comes back to full strength. But Matt Ryan's not the best as far as reading defenses overall and getting the ball off in time, as Josh mentioned. But when he does, it is a big boom play. So we'll have to see there. I definitely think that he could flirt that number 1 or QB1 spot, should say.
And he also adds, and if Pitts is actually good.
Don't you put that juju on me. I had one pick. It has to pan out. I have no choice. It's
easy for you to say. Easy for you to say. I lost my first round pick to a guy who might not even play, or who might not even be a number 1 starter.
I don't care.
I had 4.
That's your problem.
I had 3/4.
That's your problem, not mine.
And Chris says, "Are we doing this in order we expect them to finish? So New Orleans will be last."
That's correct.
I'm not even going to argue that. I'm not even going to argue that. I have
if that was the case, I would have put Tampa still first. I mean, they brought back every starter, but we'll get to them in a minute once we get through
I think
Carolina.
I think we're saving New Orleans for last just because it's, it's my heart and my pride there. And Kim says, "Hello guys. Kim, how you guys doing down there?"
So CMC, obvious first round type guy, big name talent, still going tops overall. I believe in the one startup he went number 2. I believe in another I saw him go as high as 2. I think was the highest. Yeah.
So no, I believe in Echo he went first overall, because I know Echo kind of had a little bit of a doozy at the beginning. I know in Echo
I thought that Allen went over Mahomes, right?
Allen went over Mahomes. Oh my goodness,
yeah.
that rose a little bit of red flags in my opinion, but
I mean, my opinion on Allen, so
yes, I know, but I feel like at that point it's like if you have the one or the
Mahomes over him.
I was about to say, if you have the 1 or the 2, I mean, you have to, or else you are it's just not going to be. It's not going to be fun. Oh, look, who decides to actually watch the show tonight?
Well, hello, Kristen.
Yeah, hello, Kristen. How is Daniel?
Thanks for watching.
thanks for tuning in. But yeah, definitely CMC top 2 guy. If he falls to number
Hey,
3, you get an absolute A plus.
Sam Darnold now there.
Sammy Darnold, I think, is going to blow it up more than, you know, the heap of garbage that he was given in New York. I think he's going to do very well this season. He's coming into a team where he has a running game. He's got the weapons around him. I don't
He just doesn't.
really.
He doesn't have Adam Gase.
Yes,
That's
he
really
doesn't
all you
have
gotta
Adam
say.
Case. Um,
That's all you gotta say. I mean, he doesn't have Adam Gase, so we should see what he can really do. And he doesn't have to play the Patriots, so hopefully he's not seeing ghosts like he was there. So,
but at the same
uh,
time, though, you're going up against a top defense with, I guess, New Orleans. I
oh,
mean, we're
and
still
it
going to
is
finish
Brady.
last.
And he does have to face Brady against.
Well,
Oh my
yeah. So
God,
maybe
that was
there's like there's a love hate there between Darnold and Brady. They're
yeah.
like sitting up late at night on their bed, texting each other. Hey, what are you
Yeah, I
doing?
believe it was Brady's last year there, the game that they played. He said, I think I'm seeing ghosts because they were getting to the backfield so quick to hit him that every time he turned around, sad. Hate to see it. Uh,
Yeah, but
who else do we have there?
like I said, real quick, Darnold was one of the guys I was aiming for. However, Eric, aka the Yellow Jackets, decided to swipe him from under my nose. And besides them, I know we have Robbie Anderson there. Easy wide receiver 2 guy. He's going to get the numbers for you. However, I think that with CMC being there and being an easy safety valve, he's going to take a lot of looks away from the receivers.
And DJ Moore.
Yeah, DJ Moore definitely their speedy guy, really young. Um, I mean, I don't. To be fair, I haven't really even been keeping an eye on DJ Moore, so I don't know exactly what he did.
I mean, I think it's a similar look to say your knockoff brand DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett type deal, where any given week one of them can outscore the other and be the one on the team, but neither one of them is going to put up top numbers overall. I think it's more of a short gain, run first type team.
So looking at it from last year, DJ Moore was definitely the um, give it to him short and let him, work his magic, kind of like a Tyreek Hill esque type of deal. Um, he's around 50, it's close to 50% catch rate. As far as Robbie Anderson was definitely the receptions guy. Robbie Anderson, he had 3 touchdowns. DJ Moore had 4 touchdowns, so they kind of split that even. But for me, I'd go Robbie Anderson on it. I love a good old PPR guy.
Chris says that they also bring in Dan Arnold from Arizona, who's a better receiving tight end. I would agree. I think that Arizona didn't really use him until the end of the year, which is astonishing. If you look at his last couple of games, he kind of turned it on late, but they bring him into a team that's going to use him a little bit more to what he should be used for. Um, Although Arizona didn't really need to. I mean, they had 2 deep threats already to stretch it out, so it wasn't a short game type team. So
Yeah. Um, I mean, I don't know. Not really a target that I'm looking for at the tight end spot. Definitely a bunch, like a handful of other guys that you can get prior to seeking him out. I'd look for him as a, what do you call it, a buy round or a bye week pickup or something like that.
But to me, I think that if you go one of those top guys that we mentioned, those top 4 or 5, that's your clear cut. I think having him as your backup isn't a bad spot because you're really, again, barring injury matchup or bye week, he's not getting in. if you've got those top tier guys. As far as your second tier, I don't know if he's there yet. We'll have to see how they use him. When you talk about maybe your Logan Thomases, your Hunter Henrys, Jonu Smiths, I think those three guys are still above him, right? So I don't even think he's in that realm yet. But new team, new life, new lifeline there could work out.
And that leads us to, speaking of new team, Mr. What is it? 6 over there?
7.
Oh, 7. Jeez.
He
Mr.
has 7.
7, Mr. Tom Brady, Mr. 205 himself. Tom Brady. It's hard to hate the guy. I hate him as a person because I think he's a sore loser, but he definitely puts his money where his mouth is. Still produces.
They bring back every starter from last year.
Yes, they brought back every starter from last year. Give me somebody else who can release the ball faster than Tom Brady. And Eric says he got the band back together. All we're waiting for is Julian Edelman.
I mean, I think that as crazy as it sounds, you talk about a Super Bowl winning team, right? I think they're even better this year. I mean, you look at they lost in a close game to the Saints, then got blown out by them. You didn't have Antonio Brown until week 9 or 10 because of the well, I don't know whether their bye week was later, so yeah, 9, the 8-game suspension that he had to serve out first. So you have him for a whole season now. You kind of figure out your running back room a little bit more, right? Because now you have a clear-cut one in Rojo with a change of pace in Fournette. Keyshawn Vaughn, not really seeing much playing time, not really the guy just yet.
But they do bring in Giovanni Bernard.
Right. But they're not bringing back McCoy, right?
Mm-hmm.
He retires.
Yes.
So I don't think Bernard really does much.
I mean, even still, and Eric says it here, committee.
Agreed.
I can't trust him. I mean, I was looking Rojo, but I went other ways.
So here's a question for yourself and anybody listening at home while we tick past the hour mark here. Who do you believe has the better offense on paper? Tampa or the team that they put down in the Super Bowl, the Chiefs? I mean, if you look at this team top to bottom, they have so many weapons that it's really going to be hard to put any of these guys into fantasy ranking because you really don't know who's going to be there every single week. I mean, you talk about 13 touchdowns on Mike Evans is huge, but the yards weren't really there. You look at Chris Godwin, he was the yards guy. Then you got 3 tight ends, 3 running backs, and they improve on the defensive side of the ball to give Brady even more time.
I'm debating. So I'm gonna go position by position real quick. QB. Yeah, I'm gonna agree with Chris here. QB, I'm gonna say Mahomes. I think that he just brings a different level to the game than Brady would. Mahomes can still be accurate, but Mahomes can use his legs. Running game, I like Tampa Bay's running game more. I think they get it more involved than Kansas City does. Kansas City is a very all they want to do is throw, very vertical type offense. And Chris goes against me here and says he'd rather have CEH. I'm not I'm going fantasy, but I'm thinking more like real NFL as well. I'm going both sides here. Receivers, I love Tyreek Hill. The man is an absolute human cheat code in Madden, but I'm going to have to say Tampa Bay on receivers. just because look at Kansas City's receivers. Who do they have? Just Tyreek Hill. I mean, they have McCole Hardman. They had Sammy Watkins, but I believe he went somewhere else. But then you look at Tampa Bay, Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, Antonio Brown, Scotty Miller. They have all these different guys that Brady can go to. And then finally at the tight end spot, I'm going Kelsey easily. Easily Kelsey over Gronk. I think Gronk is just your red zone guy. Yes, Gronk got the points off of his touchdowns and stuff, but Kelsey had the receptions. Kelsey had the yards. Kelsey had the touchdowns. Kelsey had everything. So that's where I stand on both teams.
So for me, the answers are different when I talk fantasy versus reality. Fantasy, I want Mahomes. Fantasy, if I want one receiver, I probably want Hill. Fantasy, if I want one running back, it's Rojo. Tight ends, I want Kelsey. If I talk reality, I want Brady. I mean, we already saw the two face off. We've seen them face off multiple times. I think Mahomes has only beat Brady once. And when you talk about putting, pen to paper and finishing out a game, there literally is no one better at closing out a game. So for me, if I'm starting a team up and I say, hey, I want to go win a championship right now, 1 year, this is redraft. I need to win now. Brady's that guy. And that's what they're doing. That's why they bring everybody back. Now, the only tough one here for me out of the receiving core is really going to be Antonio Brown. I know what I get out of the other guys, and I think that either one of them could be good, but Antonio Brown with a full season, I mean, he still had 1,200 yards last year and didn't play 8 games, or over 1,000 yards, I should say. Didn't play 8 games. So I think that he's an absolute monster if you give him a full year with Brady. I think he could put up the same type of production as Hill, if not more. So,
and with that being said, that brings us to the finale of our series, the finale of the South. And Chris, real quick, says, I hope you're taking Brady as first QB off the board and redraft then. I guarantee you, if Brady is there by round 3, that guy's going to take him.
Thank you very much. Money in the bank.
As long as Brady doesn't go at 205, then
yep,
he'll be there. Which, by the way, that is a joke around FSA now. Just saying.
Statistics show round 3
also,
quarterbacks.
Just about as much of a joke as getting Trevor Lawrence at 105 is going to be.
Who took him at 105? I'm curious to see that.
Alpha. So real quick, I know Chris went crazy over this trade. So somebody sent the 108 AJ Brown and Daniel Jones for the 105, which turned into Trevor Lawrence. Mind you, the team that got Lawrence, their top quarterbacks were Daniel Jones and Russell Wilson. And their receivers.
I want to know how Lawrence slipped to 105, regardless of what the team's outcome. That's something that we'll have to talk about once we get off of here because we're running a little over. So as we talk about the Saints.
I was going to say real quick, it was Jamar Chase, Najee Harris, Trey Lance, Etienne, and then Lawrence.
So he wasn't even the top quarterback taken?
No. But we'll save that for after the show. On to New Orleans. New Orleans, the number one thing that they drafted for it. I mean, yes, they drafted a quarterback, they drafted a wide receiver, but the number one thing they were doing was bolstering their defense. They took a defensive end in the beginning. Irrelevant as much as I like the Saints. Drew Brees is gone. Either Taysom Hill or Jameis Winston steps up. Realistically, it's probably going to be Winston. Mr. 5,000 something yards. I led the league in receiving or passing yards.
30.
Yeah, 30 for 30.
I hope it's Hill.
I would love it to be Hill because of the dimensions that they could do with that offense with him being the clear cut one.
Breeze, when he left, said, "This is the guy. This is my guy. This is who I want there. This is who I
Yeah.
want to follow me."
And that's
That's
the
got to
thing.
say something.
And that's the thing. New Orleans fans, why would you want the man who was on a rival team to run your offense? I could be a little crazy on talking about that, but that's just my personal thoughts. And Chris says, "I hope it's Winston for fantasy."
I
But even
hope it's
still,
Tay for fantasy
but even
too.
if
That's
it's
the way.
if it's Taysom for fantasy, you're getting a Lamar type of player, somebody who can run. But Kamara obviously still going in the first round. I mean, he can either do what he's been doing, being a PPR god, PPR workhorse, or with Breeze being gone, he could drop off the face of the earth.
I think he helps either quarterback there because it's going to be the same type of deal. You're still going to have your security blanket even more so as the quarterbacks start to develop, a full game plan there. And to me, I think the only one that really hurts, and it's why I traded him away, is Michael Thomas. Already had a drop off from the previous record breaking year, plus the injuries. I think that this is who suffers the most being there.
I definitely agree. Um, and Michael Thomas the most out of compared to the tight end, compared to Troutman, compared to Traquan, all of them, because those guys weren't previously first rounders. I mean, tell me, like Michael Thomas goes from being drafted at 105 or like in the first round. I drafted him at 105 in redraft last year to getting drafted in the 5th round in a dynasty.
So Eric says uh, he makes both their lives easier. We're talking about Kamara, but helps Hill a lot more than Winston. Winston doesn't look to do the check down. I would agree, but my question would be, what does Winston look for when you throw 30 interceptions in a year? Maybe you might want to look for your check down. So that could change when we see him run a full offense for a full season. So they might develop that in the game plan a little bit more. I mean, if I throw 30 interceptions in a game, I might look to change up my plan and just dump it off once in a while, save myself some agony. But he did have
And
LASIK, so
oh my gosh. And at the same time, too, you got to think that Kamara isn't just a check down and everything. The man had, what was it, 6 touchdowns in a game, 7 touchdowns in a game? It was absolutely ridiculous. It
that's
was
just not fair.
it was a very Merry Christmas for me. I I got exactly what I wanted for.
Not me. That kept me out of that ruined everybody's fantasy championships. If you played against him, you just lose.
He had like 60 something points, I believe.
It was not a good day for me.
It was, oh my god. Oh, now I want to know what it was. I want real quick before we wrap it up. And actually, no, not before we wrap it up, Kevin. There is still a man that we need to go into depth with a little bit because of me drafting him. What do you think about good old Quan?
Quan for the win. Statistics show if he's on your team, you have a shot at winning the championship. You'll definitely make it to the big bowl.
Well,
Um, I think he steps up. I think that they definitely showed that he can be the speedy outside type guy. We know that Michael Thomas likes the middle of the field, does well there, as in those crossing route type stuff. I think that um, uh, Traquan can stretch it a bit. He's got really good hands. He caught a lot that I saw, but when you had a quarterback in Breeze who led the league in accuracy, many times throughout his career. I mean, it's kind of hard not to have good hands. You don't really have to reach for much. So interested to see how that rolls over to a new quarterback.
Yeah, I'm definitely interested to see how everybody performs on that team, with there being a new sheriff in town, whether it's Winston, whether it's Hill. I have Kamara and Smith on my team. Thankfully, Smith is my number 3, so I'm not really expecting too much from him. But even still, just as a Saints fan, interested to see it.
Chris said the game that Kamara had 6 touchdowns, Hill had 2 completions. I would not really lean on that stat too much because uh, who was it? The Titans won a playoff game doing that. So if it ain't broke, don't fix it. So
Well, no, that that game that Kamara scored 6 touchdowns, Hill didn't start. That was Breeze was back. Yeah, yeah. Okay, so Chris does
then I'm not
clarify
really
it.
sure why he's said, "Are you worried? It's a weird mix of both guys."
Yes, if you have 2 QBs, you have no QBs. Easy. I I don't I was a fan of Taysom Hill when he first came out, when they first introduced him. He brought a whole different game into it. It was like having Lamar Jackson on the field, but it didn't matter. He's not your starter. He got hurt. He got hurt.
I mean, the
But
best is when I asked Josh, "What position does Taysom Hill play?" The
Taysom
answer,
Hill plays football.
yes.
Taysom Hill walks in that locker room. Coach asks what position you want to play. He says, "Coach, I want to play football."
That's
He's
it.
like Bobby. He's like Bobby Boucher. He's like Bobby Boucher. He just all you tell him is instead of saying get the man with the football, just tell him get in the end zone, and he will do it. He will do it.
I hope he wins the job. Um, Anyone else notable on the team? Uh, Maybe Willie, arm and leg guys. Willie Lutt's still a solid option there.
Hey man,
Yeah,
Willie Lutz knows
they
how to
are
sink
people.
them. I mean, dude was pretty accurate. I mean, I know who I'm
Just
looking
saying.
for in arm and leg. J. Jameis Winston. What is it? Jameis Winston, Taysom Hill, Will Lutz, and Young Hui Koo. That's my roster. All right.
I think
We
I think you're just going to be happy when Young Wei goes 101 that a kicker gets drafted in first spot.
um oh my goodness. All right. Let's get out of here. We've talked for far too long. We are going into that hour and a half mark, which is unknown, which is very unknown territory for us. Real quick, Eric says Murray is a nice handcuff. He can show out if he sees enough carries. I definitely agree. Murray is a real good RB2. You never know what's going to happen with him, though. Nothing's guaranteed, but still like a good guy to have on your team, in my opinion, easily. But as always, before we return to our regularly scheduled Average Bros Fantasy Show on May 18th at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Check out the flagship program with my average brother Kevin. That's that guy there, and our overseer, the commish Brian. Tomorrow night at 8:30 p.m. as well, Eastern Standard Time, as well as catch the Empty Wagon guys here Saturday at midnight on the 15th, I believe.
That is
Live
correct.
on YouTube, Facebook, and now Twitch. If you are unable to watch us live, check us out on Anchor, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Stitcher, anywhere you can find us for your listening pleasures. I know I like rewatching the show sometimes on Apple Podcasts because you can actually like slow it down, and listening to that guy at like 0.5 speed is hysterical. You guys, I'm
I
telling you, it
probably
is.
sound like I'm drunk.
You really do. It's like I don't know. Like
I
you
already
sound
speak slow as is.
As always, thank you guys for watching the Average Bros Fantasy Show. As we say at the beginning of the show, it is your one-stop shop for average advice. We are average guys. Point blank. Sponsored by Football Darts and Fantasy Sports Alliance. If you guys like the show, please like, share, and subscribe to the show and follow us on all of our social media outlets that you not only see at the bottom of the screen, but all over the place. And of course, before we head out of here, I would like to thank our sponsors, QB54, Monkey Knife Fight, Nature Coast Tailgating, Cranky Veteran Candle Company, Shell and Mel's Boutique, Finger Lakes Mercantile, Southern Sirens Sugar Scrub, Switch Me Back, Redwood Durables, and of course, the Recast, who are the official music of the FSA. If there's anything I don't want more in my life, it is to be called Kevin Godwin.
That's just me. That hurts.
More or less be in charge of the evil empire. Everybody, that's Kevin. Jeez, that's Kevin. I'm Josh. We are the Average Bros. You guys have an amazing night. Enjoy the rest of your week. And don't worry, it is Tuesday. We are almost there to the weekend. And yes, I actually have off on the weekend this week. So I got something to look forward to. Everybody, stay average.